like universal healthcare. We run into a problem with like a pandemic. Universal healthcare sounds like the obvious solution, and people don't fucking vote for it. Are you kidding me? Ah, like I like I know voter shaming is the wrong thing to do, and I believe that. But sometimes I just think about that and I kind of want to scream at Democratic voters. But I don't think it's the voters that should be shamed here. I think it's just they're victims of propaganda. That's why I've been like thinking much more lately about how do you counteract propaganda? Because I think propaganda is the number one thing that stops progress. The number one thing. Because that's what gets us. That's what, because if you just take your general unthinking or apolitical type of person, someone who's just like going to work at the factory or going to work as a cashier or whatever, just working some normal ass job, or even working a not so normal ass job. Uh, but like, point is like they go to work or they go to school. Maybe they're a student, and they're just busy all day. They come home, they're tired, and if they're a student, they also have to do homework, which is a pain in the ass. And also, homework is like a shitty way to actually do things. But that's a whole nother rant that I don't want to get into right now. um, but they come home, they're busy, and they just want to they just want to eat dinner, kiss their wife, hug their kids, or kiss their husband, and hug their not kids, like maybe it's their dog or whatever. Point is, but like take your average guy. That's kind of what I'm describing. And then they want to watch like TV or whatever, like watch like a football game, or maybe they want to watch some game show. Maybe want to watch Jeopardy or Family Feud or American Idol or whatever. You'd like just insert generic TV show here, um, because yeah, they had a stressful day. They work their asses off all day. They just want to come home and relax and not worry about anything. And to tap yourself into the world of politics means that you have to kind of deal with some really stressful shit. Because you have to deal with things like war and climate change and police brutality and racism and prejudice um, and discrimination against like LGBT people. You know, it's it can be very exhausting to care about that if you're just some normal person. I think it takes a special type of person to really care about politics that much, um, and also like have like a life, you know. Um, so that's why I think for those of us that can actually care about politics, I think it becomes really important to try to figure out how to help those people out. How do we like just educate how do we educate them in a way that doesn't demand too much of them? Because here's another problem I have with leftist Twitter is that they'll say like, oh, just go read Marx, go read, you know, Trotsky, or just like they'll like list like half a dozen names of like of like some like a bunch of lefties from like the 20th century, um, or the 19th century, even, and like and then like suggest like 20 books, like whole ass books, not like little like like not an article that's like 3 pages long, like books that are like 300 pages long, um, and are talking about really complex topics that, if you don't already have the background to understand it, it just requires so much more like um, thinking just to comprehend what the hell you're reading. And if you were talking about your average Jane or Joe, that is not the right approach. It's not even close, and it kind of angers me that I see this shit on leftist Twitter, because it's, even for me who cares about this type of shit, it's the wrong response to, if you want to help me understand that, because like I don't want to go through like six, half a dozen guys who wrote like a dozen books in the 20th century and then read all of that. And they're definitely writing with their own biases, by the way, and not taking into account the 21st century world, because they lived in the 20th century, not the 21st. And like there's different shit going on now, man. Like I know a lot of it's the same, but not all of it is. So and like, it's not to say that what they like, that these books would be useless or that their ideas have no merit today. But the problem is that when you're talking to someone who doesn't know this shit and you're trying to educate them, that's not the right response to give, because you're not really speaking to them, you're speaking at them, right? Now, if they want, if they're like asking for like, some like good things to read or like good ways to like do their own research, that's a totally fine response, because now you're just giving them sources. Because they're asking for sources, you're giving them sources. That obviously is a good response. But if you're engaged in a more casual conversation with them, just fucking talk to them, dude. Don't go on to this like high end um like almost like elitist intellectual conversation with them if they're just like not into that. You might maybe the type of, maybe you run into someone that is more capable of doing that, and if they are, fine, do it. Most people aren't like that though, and if you're trying to reach a broad amount of people, which that should be your goal, if you're trying to actually like get more people to come to the right ideas, then you need to simplify your ideas. Okay? And just try to talk to them in very simple ways that talk to their material conditions. You gotta, like, if I want to explain why I think UBI is such a big deal, I could talk about what I might do with a UBI. Like if I had $1,000 a month, or $2,000 a month, or whatever, insert whatever number you want to put here. I would talk about how I would take that money and I would use it. Well, one thing I might do is I would contact some of my friends that I knew from when I was doing a lot of stuff with playing music, and I would ask them if they want to group up and form like some kind of music group, and I write music and we play it, and maybe if we like pool our resources and we're really clever about things, we can maybe even rent like a studio to just record our shit. Or, maybe I just do all this solo, because maybe none of them are really on board, because people are notoriously fickle and flaky, and it's a pain in the ass. I could just say, fuck it, I'll buy my own.
That came from some salt, I think.
There's some salt. Yes. But I could buy. But like, suppose I just want to do my own thing. I could say, fuck it, I'll just buy some recording software. I'll buy some compositional software for to just do stuff on my computer. I could buy my own instruments. I could do all of that with just a UBI. And like, let's look at that. I'm like doing something to like not only just like, I'd be stimulating the economy because I'm like buying stuff. I'm taking charge of my own life, so I'm like, there's like some like personal responsibility aspect there. So if you're like talking to like a personal responsibility type of conservative, that's a good way to speak to them. I don't need to like beg the government for help, beyond the UBI, obviously. So if you're talking to like some hardcore libertarian, that might be kind of appealing. I don't have to bend the knee for corporate overlords, because corporations are notorious for not really being great to workers. So I don't have to worry about that because it's all very independent. Um, or and that's just like an idea that I might do. But maybe other people might use a UBI to just like help pay for bills, because that's probably like the number one thing people are going to use something like a UBI for. You could use it to pay your water bill, your power bill, your internet bill, a gas bill if that's something you use. You could use it to pay off like maybe like your car or your house or pay rent. Um, tons of these little things. And so if you're also like working on top of that, which most people are still going to work, by the way, this like a UBI doesn't mean that people don't work. Hell, the situation I described actually helps me to work, so it might even create jobs. Um, so you could do all. It just helps people. That's like the point. That's like the kind of point I'm getting to about like this like rant I have about different policies that I've come around to really being passionate about, because I see this as a way to help like everyone. That's what made me become a leftist. If lefty politics wasn't this, then I wouldn't be a lefty. If this were conservative politics and the conservatives were proposing this, I would call myself a conservative. But the conservatives propose like the exact opposite, which is why I don't call myself a conservative and why I oppose conservatives almost all the time. Anyways,
This rant was going on for a while.
yeah, and I think that was like a half-hour rant. But hey, the stream didn't crash during it.
Well, at least this test knows. At least you see what's going on.
Yeah. So it kind of looks like my my internet issue might be fixed.
Nice.
So it might. So that could mean that tomorrow I have a more normal stream where I play Zelda. I actually do the Forest Temple, maybe some other stuff. If I end up doing things fast enough, maybe I also do the Fire Temple, but probably not. Um, it'll probably just be the Forest Temple and maybe some stuff out in the overworld. Um, and then maybe we could do some other things like that thing I suggested to you, Kelvin. Maybe that's something we could do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I could do some Mario Galaxy after that or something. I don't know, but tomorrow could be a more normal stream because yeah, it looks like the internet's been fixed. And shout out to Sharon from the from Cox customer care on Twitter, because she responded to my tweet and actually gave me a solution that might actually have been like a real solution and not some like bullshit response. So Sharon's a good employee. Fuck her company, but she did a good job. Oh, anyways, there was before I got onto that rant, there was one thing from Shitpostbot that I feel like you would be better to react to. So let me pull it onto my main monitor.
Let me Photoshop something real quick in honor of Sharon.
Okay.
Send to Twitter.